Eoch Tanuyap, Quiget Iwans Quiansna. Hi everybody, my name is Quiget Iwans. I'm a member of the Squamish Nation and the Yagalanis clan of the Haida Nation. You're listening to Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. We live, work, play, and broadcast from the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations.
You are listening to CFRO Community Radio Station. The upcoming show, Conscious Living Radio, is a program that explores frontiers of consciousness, spirituality, personal growth, emerging paradigms in psychology, health, science, and innovative philosophies that reflect commitment to the advancement of individual, social, and global transformation.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Conscious Living here on 100.5 FM CFRO in Vancouver. My name is Marc Caron, and today I'm really happy to introduce our guests and speak about the cannabis industry in Canada. Ever since it's become legal, it's Canada Day, so we like to think some of us wacky Canadians call it Cannabis Day. So that's our theme for our program today. So it's going to be very much a spirit plant medicine episode of Conscious Living today. And I'm really excited about our guests, LeBlanc and Krystal Autumn. So welcome to the program, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's always a pleasure to connect with you. And, I really respect and appreciate the work that you've been doing in regards to cannabis, especially cannabis as a medicine, because you do everything you do so beautifully, regenerative, organic, with the sun, in the earth, which I think is almost a novel concept these days in the world with hydroponics and everything that's happening. And, I know that you're working really hard with the growers in your area to move from legacy to legal. And I want to have a conversation about that, because just when I was at your Unicorn Music Festival last year, I learned so much about what's happening in this world that I was not even aware of. So, before we get going any further and take a deep dive, maybe, Che, you can tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you into this kind of, really work.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I guess the beauty of it is that I don't find this to be work, because it's something I've been passionate about my whole life. And if there was no money involved, and in fact, there may not be much in the cannabis industry these days, I would still do this. So what excites me, and it feels like my calling and what I'm here to do. It's actually a really beautiful place to be, between a medicine and a patient. And I find a lot of opportunity to experience wealth, gratitude, because of being in that position. I was born into cannabis, and 9 years old, helping my dad pull the big leaves off or lift the lights up. In fact, we could go back beyond that, and some of my earliest memories are actually dragging my diaper around between all the pots. So it's just a normal thing. It was just another plant. And I didn't really get attached to that stigma growing up. Later in life, we understood that there was some rules around and things like that, but to me it was just another plant and kind of part of life.
Well, that's a pretty interesting picture to paint, because I grew up, with my parents, like anything that was a drug was taboo, and they had no knowledge of, plants as medicine. The other side of smoking a joint to them was like shooting heroin, it was just drugs. So, wow, what a different way to grow up.
You can call it the same thing, Dope.
Yeah, exactly, right.
We were always involved with herbalism and hung out with herbalists, and the plant and plant medicines were always a big part of our life. And again, this was just one of many plants that was a medicine and was a herb in those ways.
Wow. And what about you, Krystal? I know, you're very much involved in terms of what's happening up at the farms in the Kootenays, and you're executive director and, probably the brains behind the, no offense, Jay, of course, behind the Unicorn Music Festival. But how did you kind of get involved into this line of work, especially within cannabis?
Yeah, it started out as a medicine for me.
Mm.
It was truly something that was able to balance some pain and some uncomfortability in my body from a very early age. And I realized it took away my suffering. So it was probably able to take away a lot of people's suffering, mentally, physically, And then that was when I was very young. And as I really became a part of the movement of cannabis, realized it was a consciousness awakening substance. It was something that could really align people with their higher selves and with a consciousness that is more ethereal. It helps people think outside of the box, become a little bit more in tune with themselves as well. And I did always feel like that was my calling. I always was like, yeah, I really want to help people become alive within themselves and stay in that aliveness. And I really felt like cannabis was the vehicle to be able to do that. And so, yeah, I traveled 3,000 long miles from New Jersey to California.
New Jersey.
Yeah, I was born in New Jersey and raised in California, is what I say. And so I got into the cannabis industry at its earlier, like not as early as generational cannabis, of course, but earlier in the industry there, and kind of was blessed to be able to travel around the world and look at what cannabis does for people.
Beautiful. Well, I think it's fascinating, for one, when you look at the history of cannabis, and it's not just a North American thing. It's been used as far back as man really records history. It's been used for all sorts of things, from, the seeds for cooking and food to growth to hemp, right? For paper, for linens, for rope, for everything. And not so far past just over 100 years ago, when it wasn't even illegal, it was used as a medicine. It was what they used for headaches and pain and a number of different ailments. It was kind of a cure-all for so many things. And then, with this crazy illegalization through the 30s, and when all that happened and the way everything got, really bastardized and criminalized and put in a way that it's such a bad thing. And now we're learning how powerful it really is. And, are we really learning? I think it's just becoming more to the front and center. And what always kind of blew me away, I'm grateful to be in Canada, and that, 2018, they made cannabis legal, which changed so many things, where now you can walk into a store and buy your bud, flower, edibles, to vapes, to you name it, it's out there. Even beverages, right? Where, growing up in the 80s, we were just happy to find a bag. Right, exactly. We weren't fussy, and now we're seeing the terpenes, and from CBD to CBG, and there's so many different parts of that plant that we're learning scientifically validates the medical benefits of it. And what blows me away is all the guys, and I heard this when I was at the Unicorn Festival last year, when, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he was one of those guys who was the original, one of the original guys supplying the compassion clubs and bringing the medical cannabis to the dispensaries for all these people who were putting their, lives at risk, legally speaking, at the very least. And what strikes me as really interesting is all these people who were the pioneers, who have gotten cannabis to the point where it actually has become legal. Now these are the guys who are kind of being penalized. The commercialization, the capitalization comes in. People who didn't care, passionate about cannabis at all, look at it as a business. And now all these OG, original growers, are blacklisted. They're not able to kind of make that transition. And one of the things I love about what you're doing, Che, is helping people transition from, the OG into legal. And I know you've done that. So maybe first we can start with, what made you decide to go from being just a grower or one of the legacy guys and decide to go legal? Because that's a whole nother journey from a legal perspective, correct?
I think a lot of the OGs did it because they found something special in cannabis. They became really passionate about it, myself included. first time I consumed cannabis, it helped me in a lot of really beautiful ways. And one of those ways was to actually connect to different versions or portions of myself that were much more in tune with the kindness, with healing, with the positive things that I wanted to be and I wanted to live my life around, and I wanted to be a catalyst to other people as well. It brought me out of a place of fear or lack or worry into a place of trust, gratitude. And that was a very powerful experience to me. And it's something that I really appreciated and I wanted to continue on with in my life. And so I was sort of hooked in some ways at that point. But then there's the other side of it, which is the legal recourse. You're literally risking your freedom to be with this plant. You know, we get all into the debate of whether that's right or wrong, but nonetheless, that was the fact of the situation. And it wasn't just for me. It was for everybody that found themselves in that same place, connecting to this plant, wanting to be involved with this plant. But very few of them, if any, were excited about the legal problems that could come from it. But yet we decided to do it anyway. We were that passionate about it that we really were willing to risk our freedom. Pause there, because that's a pretty heavy statement. You really think about it, to be with a plant that we could end up behind bars away from our family and our children and our lives. But yet we still continue to do that. Those are the people, everyone deserves to be with cannabis. But if anyone really deserves to be with cannabis, it's those people that risk their life and their freedom to be with it pre-acceptance, pre-ditching the stigma, pre-legalization. And it was a really unfortunate situation to see multinational companies and one of the biggest companies in the world really come in and try to buy the culture.
Like big pharma comes in to take over.
And in the process, we pushed out those people that founded this whole cannabis movement and the culture and again, deserved to be with that plant. And that was really difficult for me to accept personally, also in my community and my extended community. And so we tried to find ways to solve that problem. And the Kootenays specifically is sort of a ground zero of cannabis in Canada. It can be related to the Emerald Triangle in the States, or that's one of few regions that's recognized internationally as being a hotspot for high quality cannabis and culture. And the reason that, actually Nelson and that whole area was founded from draft dodgers escaping the Vietnam War, and they came up here with their seeds. They found an energetic vibration in an area. Cannabis really resonated with as well, beautiful terroir. It was just a fit, and that was actually the roots of our region. So more than anywhere else, I think in Canada, I think it'd be safe to say it's ingrained in our culture and accepted. And to take it to another level is a huge part of our economy. And so to watch this opportunity slip away from the mom and pops, I understand there's probably some organized crime elements, but that's not what I'm seeing, what I'm involved with. I'm seeing mom and pops, people just wanting to put their kids in school with a new backpack, insurance in their car, just live a modest life, happy and content in nature and their community. I watch them lose that opportunity, and maybe the dad has to go back to Alberta and take a construction job and not be with his family anymore. And, I could go on, but it was a situation that I didn't agree with. And so instead of focusing too much on the problem, I think the power is focusing on the solutions. What do we do? How do we fix this? And we realized that most of these growers have really bright green thumbs, but a 300-page regulatory document application wasn't really in their wheelhouse. And so we thought, well, what can we do to bridge this gap? How can we help bring this plant back to those people, back to this community, and help our economy at the same time? So I met Shannon, a friend of mine. She worked at a community future center. And it was actually a pilot project happening, first one and the only one to have happened, where the government funded legacy growers to transition into a licensed space. And the Community Futures Program, Cannabis Initiative, was the bridge that gap. And so we were one of the first to actually go through that program. And we got a little bit of money at a time. It was really quite important for us to get us past the licensing stage. And it really helped us a lot. But it opened up the the idea that we could help others beyond us do a similar thing. So licensing was one major gap, and a route to market was the next one. And so it started with Shannon and that group helped me licensing. But then we decided the next step, once we got licensed, was to create that route to market opportunity. So we came together to create a processor called Antidote. Mm-hmm. And the irony in an antidote is a remedy to a poison or a solution. That's really, it speaks volumes of what this is all about, creating that solution to the problem to allow this plant to stay in our community with these people. And so now we're servicing our community, we're helping people get licensed, and we're helping create a route to market. And we touched on this earlier, but that's a really beautiful place to be where one can experience a lot of wealth and gratitude, satisfaction by being in that position.
It's incredible. I love that you created, another kind of business or side shoot for what's going on, because it's not like just the days of old, you trim your bud, you dry it, and you've got your stuff. There's a lot of regulations that need to happen just from the processing. It doesn't just go from farm to consumer anymore, and something that really struck my mind is when someone was speaking last year at the festival that and it might have been you, Che, actually talking about shipping your product across the country to get processed and to have things happen, and then to ship it back to be distributed. Like it sounds like a lot of bureaucracy at play in terms of the legalization. How has that affected your side of the business, and how has it benefited?
That's one of the challenges. There's quality issues that come up as well. When you're responsible for your own product and you've got a lot of experience fine-tuning and developing that product into this craft quality, it's all these slights. It's all these little things that you do along the way make a significant change at the quality level at the end. It's not one thing or another thing. When that's out of your control and out of your hands and in the hands of people maybe not even experienced in the industry, inevitably you run into issues. And it's really hard to repeat what you've done in the previous market, in the new market. Mm-hmm. So that was another reason it was so important for us to have an in-house processor in our community where we could be involved, create the work instructions or the SOPs and oversee the process. It's the only way to actually have true control. And so we're in this beautiful situation now when we literally would create the genetics, but put the seed into the ground, tend the seed, take care of the seed, harvest it as the plant, process it, flash freeze it, take it to the processor, turn it into the next product. So we're literally controlling our product with our own hands from seed to final package and sticker on the package. And now we know for sure it's what it's supposed to be. There's also a money aspect of it too. It's not efficient. It costs a lot of money, shipping, other processors. It gets really complicated. And we had a lot of challenges. So this is a really great opportunity now for us to streamline the whole process, make a little bit better margin out of it, which is another challenge in the cannabis industry as well.
Unlike the days of OG.
Those are the easy days. It's not like that anymore. And, we see this happen in so many industries where a big pharma, big companies come in. They have a budget set aside just for selling less than production in order to wipe out a lot of the competition, and they buy up the few that are remaining. They might get one or two that are resistant. That'll be us, but the rest they have a monopoly on the whole situation. We've seen it in so many industries before. It's the same thing happening in cannabis right now. So we're sort of weathering the storm. Mm-hmm. The reason that we're able to squeak by is we have extremely low production costs. And we have to thank nature for that. Nature is representing billions of years of evolution. This plant itself, some say about 13 million years on this planet. But we're just a flash in the pan. This plant knows what it wants. It knows how to grow. It doesn't need us to teach it how to grow. What it wants us to do is just give it the conditions it desires so it can do what it does. And so really that's what we're doing at our farm. We're recreating how the forest grows. There's nobody out there spraying herbicides and pesticides and adding nitrogen, and it's all this diversity, balance, symbiotic relationship. Things all help each other to make the whole. And so that's what we're trying to replicate in our production site. Diversity of plants and animals and different species, and let the plant just do what it wants to do. And I think that that's how not only do we get a higher quality product, but a higher quality medicine as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the guys at Growing Exposed have done a great job of a video. They talk to you at the farm. It's fantastic, and I recommend, if you're watching this, check out the comments and the links and things below. We'll add them in afterwards as well. But check it out. It's called Growing Exposed, and it shows exactly what you're talking about, the different ways of using nature to balance the plants. And I love that, your approach is so natural. You're not hydroponically growing these things. You're not using artificial light. The roots are in the ground. Sun is from the sun, not some, reasonable facsimile thereof. And I think the energy, the care, and attention you put into it is equally as important versus just a capitalistic commercial scale operation for the sake of money, because I believe that changes the vibration and the quality and potency of the actual medicine. It's Josh and Kelly from Dragonfly Earth Medicine as well, and they do a great job with their medicine, and I think it's just fantastic to see that that's being done. And I think it's the best, in my opinion, cannabis you can get, because there's so much stuff in the dispensaries, when you talk about quality control and everything else, it's terrible. Yeah. And I know guys who in the past, they're great growers. They grew some fantastic stuff, and they just weren't interested in crossing over. So they just shifted and pivoted out of the industry and found other things to do. But it was unfortunate because these guys were, again, like so many others, the people who paved the way for what's now happening in Canada, many parts of the world, including the United States. So, thank you to you for what you're doing and for your community as well, because I think that's really powerful to keep everybody employed, to keep the economy going, and so that people can, your tagline for the festival, music, nature, community, it's fantastic. So that's great. Now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about your annual event that you do up on your property up there called the Unicorn Music Festival. I was invited last year to be part of it, and it was a great getaway for the weekend. And what I probably love the most about it is it wasn't like a crazy Shambhala experience by any stretch. It was not. Not that I've ever been, but I've seen enough videos, talked to enough people to know that that's not my kind of scene, But the pristine lands, the lake, the people, it was just such a chill vibe that brought in everything I like, which is education, right? Because you had talks during the day. Then there was the music at night, which is the experience, and the transformation for me was the community and just being able to unplug, no cell service, none of that sort of stuff. It was incredible. So I thank you for that experience. Now, maybe you can share with me, and Krystal, this might be your wheelhouse. I'm not sure where that goes. But what made you decide to do a music festival? Because I know you've got the Rosebud Bowl that's kind of side by side with it. So how did all this come about, and what was your intentions behind that?
Can we touch on that?
Sure.
Well, it's actually started as a cannabis cup, and we wanted to bring the best of our community together, the best growers, and compare each other's cannabis and celebrate it. And that was the roots of this 7 years ago. It was just a tent and 30 guys with jars and everyone enjoying good quality cannabis. And then we brought in some education. A friend of ours, Jean Ann, came and talked about terpenes and the entourage effect, and was really well received. And then we thought the next step, well, let's bring in some entertainment. A band came and played. And it's just sort of evolved over time from that. And really, the heart of this event is improving the quality of our lives. Mm-hmm. It's really what we're trying to do here. And there's a lot of spokes off that hub. Mm-hmm. Plant medicine, cannabis is one of those, and other plant medicines. But things like healing trauma or meditation or sound healing, these are all spokes. Organic gardening, working within our community, living within our means, sustainable housing and construction and hemp. And these are all spokes that contribute to improving our quality of life. And consciousness, it's body, mind, and soul. Mm. And balancing those things out. And celebration is a big part of that as well, finding that space where everyone's uplifted, collaborative, excited and happy.
Authentic.
Yes.
Authentic.
Yeah. That's been a big word around here lately, eh, Michael? Authenticity.
Yeah, we also really wanted to focus on exactly what we've been talking about this whole time, which is how we can help people break the barrier down to the kind of information that they need in order to empower themselves, their businesses, their family businesses, their future companies with the information that is palpable, digestible, and action-oriented, so that they could transition from their legacy brands and their market of the legacy world into this legal marketplace. So a lot of the things that we teach about in our education, it's evolved, over the years, but the baseline of it has always been how to transition from your legacy grow and your legacy business and brand to the legal marketplace. And so we talk about marketing, we talk about, the laws that are changing every year, relevant information that will really help people to understand what they're doing and how they can get empowered. And so that, I think, is a really big community-based knowledge base. We bring together thought leaders, is what I say, to give community what they need. And now it's transitioned a little bit more as the years of, psychedelic legalization have come along and consciousness expansion have come along. We have, transitioned into some of the talks about that, but I still have, talks about marketing, talks about legality changes, and talks about the things that are the baseline structure to be able to be in the legal marketplace.
Yeah, and that's so brilliant, because you talk about like you say, the marketing and the business side, because, that's the roots of what you guys are doing in terms of supporting the community. And, as a conference and events guy, I'm always like barely one ear to what's going on and taking care of all the other details. And I enjoyed being able to sit in on the talks and actually be a participant last year, because there was so much I didn't know about, the transition from, legacy to legal. And, part of that one politician on the first day was the first person I saw, and I caught probably the last half of her talk just as I arrived. But she was brilliant. And to see youth in politics and supporting the movement and the business in terms of a really kind of conscious, heartfelt way versus just being capitalistic. And the education from the law and listening to the stories of what people were sharing, Spirit Plant Medicine's friend Rob Laurie, he was there last year, and just the things he shared as well, working with people and the obstacles, because it's not, when you talk about this great big 300-page document for applying for licensing, how overwhelming and intimidating is that, let alone, the dollars at the end of the day that all goes to administration, paperwork, bureaucracy, and all of that kind of stuff. And I love that you bring in the music also, because I think it's important to celebrate, as you were saying, Che, and you know, it's a recreation, a recreation. Let's have some fun. Let's learn and grow and celebrate and have some fun together. And I think it's just a beautiful environment that you've created. The stage is awesome, and the lake for swimming is fantastic. I love that private, quiet lake with no boats and things like that cruising around. So I really encourage anybody who's, considering, where do I go this summer? What do I do? If you're a cannabis connoisseur, if this is something that you like, by all means, check out the Unicorn Music Festival, because it is 3 to 4 days. I think you finish on the Monday where you kind of wrap it up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got early entry this year. You could come Thursday and leave Monday night if you'd like.
Nice.
Get the most out of it.
Yeah, I think it's just a great way to go. And if you're from the city, it's not too far. To me, it's about an 8-hour drive. To me, it's like, I feel like I got away.
Yeah, escape into the forest bathing,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And the turtles. I was fascinated by the turtles because, I've been all over the province, but I've never seen turtles like that around here before.
Everyone else is
Yeah, it's amazing.
Turtles, yeah, they're quite unique.
Yeah.
And we're quite grateful to have this property to work with to create this event, because really that's the foundation that all this magic can come from.
Mm-hmm.
The vibe of the energy of the property itself. We're the only private property on the lake. The rest is nature reserved and protected. So it really fits in well with our production of cannabis production,
Mm-hmm.
but also this event itself. To touch just a little bit more on the music side of it, there's another part of it which maybe we could call altered states of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we could call removing filters to allow us to be even more of who we actually truly are. And cannabis is one of those plant medicines that can allow that to happen. And it's what I started about. We talked about my past with cannabis and unlocking centers of me. It's wonderful to see that happening to other people as well. When we look in history, we look at indigenous groups from all over the world utilizing rhythm, sound rhythm, beat, and often plant medicine in a ceremonial type situation to access altered states of consciousness. Maybe one could say expanded states of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another real reason that we brought these things together. Again, that hub in the middle being improving our quality of life, body, mind, and soul. And the music really resonates with me in that way, if I allow it to. If I just let go. It's not even about tapping into something. It's just letting go of what's limiting me. And all of a sudden, I'm accessing these altered states of consciousness that improve my quality of life and those around me. So that's another reason that music fits so well into what it is that we're trying to do with this space.
Yeah, well said. And I couldn't agree with you more, because, music is, really the true gateway drug in so many ways, because it opens us up in that way. And, I know, I've been a lifelong cannabis guy. And when I got involved in the plant medicine world, the Spirit Plant Medicine Conference and doing all of that, it was quite by accident, and it was kind of fluky the way the plants just kind of brought me in, and who would have known. And I experienced my first cannabis ceremony, and I'd smoked and meditated, and I've used it kind of in my own practice, but not necessarily as consciously as ceremony, And Stephen Gray, I understand, is going to be up there this year. He's going to be leading one of his, world famous cannabis ceremonies. But I think it's important because so many people look at cannabis and they just think, it's high or it's medicine, but the spiritual aspect of it and the way, like I've had psychedelic experiences on like 3 tokes of cannabis when sitting in ceremony. And when you are using it intentionally, there's a whole nother level to this plant and what it can bring than just, hey, let's smoke a joint, people who are doing it unconsciously. And I think that's an important message to get across, to change the context of what people think about cannabis, because it did change in 2018 when it became legal. You saw a lot more people becoming curious, and because now the stigma's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And now with that happening, I think education and intention are some of the key uses to this plant. And this is what you're doing up there. I love the vibe, the openness of the people, because, at the end of the day, cannabis, smokers are usually pretty chill and open. They're not what you might make them out to be, or what some media might make them out to be in so many ways, because at the very least, they're friendly.
You don't find a lot of thugs at our event. You find a lot of open, conscious people really about community and about helping each other.
Absolutely. So what can people expect this year? If you want to name some of the artists, I'm not sure all of them. I know Spirit Plant Medicine Friends Theta Phoenix is going to be there. Stephen Gray is going to do his cannabis ceremony.
Yes.
For those who care, I'm going to be there. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a Spirit Plant Medicine camp and some representation of, our worlds and our communities coming together as we support what you guys are doing, and just kind of get the word out that plants are medicine, right?
Yeah, we've got a lot of great speakers. We're really lucky to have the community come together and excited to come participate and share education. But I do want to say it is more than just cannabis, and cannabis will always be at the heart of this event. But that said, there's something happening for everyone, because not everyone is interested in marketing of cannabis.
Yeah, absolutely.
We actually have 4 different stages, and we have our main stage, which is a combination of speakers during the day and music at night. A lot of those speakers are cannabis, but not all.
Not all of them.
Move in other areas.
Sunday is a really great lineup of conscious education, and you'll be on a panel, the Spirit Plant Medicine panel, which we're really excited about, and there's women's panels, and lots of conversations. And Earth Ethics panel is another one we just added, which will be an Indigenous talk.
And we have we actually have a floating stage that goes out on the water, and it's really
incredible.
Popular. It's unplugged. This is an acoustic stage. You'll see people on their paddle boards gathered around or sitting on the beach, and it's just a really nice laid-back vibe. Well, that stage happens during the day as well, so the cannabis talks aren't your thing. You could really enjoy that. There's another stage happening, which is called the Healing Hollow, and this one is not cannabis related. It's truly about healing, and I touched on it earlier with crystal bowls or healing traumas, addressing trauma, releasing, and different ways to release things within us that are holding us back, limiting belief systems. So there really is sort of something for everyone happening at all times, not necessarily just cannabis, even though that really is our roots.
And then we all come together at night in the Galactic Center for the big hoorahs, which are our incredible headliners. This year we have Tor coming from Vancouver.
Nice.
We have Preacher coming up from Santa Cruz, California. We also have one of my lifelong and old school favorites, Antenne, who does more like medicine music.
He's from San Francisco, Bay Area.
He's from the Bay Area. Well, actually, he's from LA, but plays a lot in the Bay Area and up in Washington. And then we have our amazing and all-time favorite Sticky Buds coming. So he'll be our Friday night headliner. So we do have a lot of really incredible music to also be immersed in as we all join together for that, kind of nighttime vibrational frequency dance party and culmination there.
The music itself, we cater the music in a little bit different way than a lot of the other festivals. We go for quality over quantity. And so we're not really pushing the 24-hour music vibe. We need to rest.
Rejuvenate in nature.
There's a lot of other events, and if that's really what you're after, that you can get, you can dance straight for 3 days. But we also want to consider our health in our event. So what we do is focus on really high quality artists for a shorter period of time. So our stage closes a little bit before 4, the main stage for music, and it opens up about 5 at night with more live bands, and around midnight it transitions into more of the electronic kind of a vibe. Again, there's some other stages as well.
Yeah, there's a nice transition to start off the evening, and as it ramps up into the later night. dance party.
Saturday night dance party
Yeah.
is going to be off the hook. We have a local favorite, West Cleves, and then Father Funk is coming in, and then they're going to do a dynamic duo because they're best friends. So it'll be like the Saturday night headliner dance
I
party.
really enjoy the unique things. And a lot of talent will have the same set they play throughout the festival scene.
Yes.
We really like to encourage unique things happening at the Unicorn. So we've got a few sets this year that only happen one time and it'll be here.
Yeah.
That's why it's the unicorn, because it's elusive. You'll only see it once.
Exactly. It won't be around for us, so let me see it once.
Yeah, no, I think it's incredible the work that you're doing and the way that you foster community. And I think that that's so important. Again, Conscious Living Network and the work that we do is always about, education. You can learn as much as you want to learn. You can memorize it and remember it and regurgitate it. But that's one way to handle education. Then there's the experience that we like to make sure that, it's why we do a cannabis ceremony at the conference, because it's one thing to talk. It's another thing to experience, right? Experience is the best teacher, so they say.
Anchoring in of embodiment.
Exactly. Well, I learned this one thing in some of our coaching stuff years ago, and it was like when, you could tell people about stuff and people are like, oh, okay, well, that's great. Maybe, maybe not. They may or may not believe you. But if they discover it on their own, then it's a whole different ballgame, right? And that's the whole idea of the experience, is that discovery, self-discovery, discovery of the experience, whatever that may be. And then how do we use that to transform and to change our life to be even better people, And you nailed it, Krystal, earlier when you talked about authenticity. And that's the one thing that I know I strive for. Michael here, who's running the gear on the other side, it always comes up, but it's always about a safe, sacred space for authentic self-expression. Right. So many people want to be seen, want to be heard, want to feel like they're part of something bigger than, just themselves. And I think you guys do that really well. The inclusivity, the way I felt, the way I know everybody felt at the Unicorn last year when I was up there, was just so beautiful. Like everybody was just like, hey, so open. And I thank you for creating that.
By compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, hey, I just call it how I see it. It was an experience that I won't soon forget, and I look forward to it again this year. I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to add. I got a couple of small video clips that we could play if Michael has them ready at some point. But if there's anything you want to add, that you want to share, anything at all, I want to make sure we don't miss anything.
You sparked some thought there in your last words, and then is this uniqueness. We come from my perspective, we come to this planet to be our authentic selves. That's our biggest job, because that's perfect. We wouldn't have come here to be anything other than us. But a lot of times there's a judgment that comes into play, in the way Western culture can be, and often we can be afraid to be our authentic selves because of how we might be viewed different than other people. But I would like to really remind us, and myself included, that it's those differentiators, that uniqueness, that is the magic. And to hold back from our magic from this planet is a shame. So we have so much to offer in our own beautiful expression of life. And when we judge other people for being different, we're limiting the opportunity for all of us to experience all of life's diversity. So this is a space that not only is safe to be yourself, you're strongly encouraged to be your authentic self. I love being a weirdo, meaning different than the other people. And that's what I came here to do. And so I really love for anyone that comes and joins us to bloom, to be that expression of life itself, and show the world what it is you came here to do by being the authentic.
And also I'd like to add, to bring a piece of wisdom that you learned about yourself, that you learned from your healing process there, that you opened up and discovered, in whatever way that it comes to you, to bring that back to your home, to bring that back to your community and your sacred place where you live, and continue to spread throughout the year until we return to the next celebration the next year. Continue to spread that as your own truth as a truth that can help others awaken their consciousness, and to really bring the conscious awakening vibration from what we're creating as a ripple effect into the world, because that's truly what this event is meant to be and do, is to be your authentic self, but then to embody and embrace that as you go home and show someone else, maybe your neighbor or your best friend or something that you've shifted in some way, and then for the positive expansion of yourself, and then how you did it or what sparked your interest in that way. So
And it's okay for them to shift too.
yeah, definitely.
Permission.
Permission slip.
Yeah. Well,
we need those in life sometimes.
that just opens so much just about, the whole concept of personal growth and personal development and self-realization, what you're sharing. And, so many people, Che, you touched on it, just, the individual uniqueness of each person, because we all have that need to know that we're special and that we matter and that, we have our own significance. It's not about being ego-driven, but knowing that we matter, right? And to continue to learn and grow. And so many of us, you talked about, the Western world and the different, the way we've been conditioned for so long to behave and, be politically correct or all of those things. But sometimes you just got to, let loose and have some fun and dance and sing and shake it all out. And who cares who's watching and what they're, it doesn't matter, because everybody else at the end of the day is doing the same thing. Right. And Krystal, what you're saying is, that whole key part of, the transformation that takes integration. Mm-hmm. How do we take this home? And in all the work that we do across the field, from world peace to unity to plant medicines to personal growth and development, is how do we pay it forward, right? And how do we bring others into, the fold, if you will, or to open up that opportunity where there's, because when you're preaching to the choir, it's, it's great, but it's not as much fun. And I don't mean, to use that term glibly, but it's like, birds of a feather flock together. And if we don't open up the gates, if we don't open up our arms and our hearts and our spirit and actively invite other people to join us, I think can be selfish in some ways. And I think is the most important way, because how do we then share the experience, and it's by, sharing with our family, with our friends, with our community. And in my experience, it's, when you have these transformational experiences, you don't have to do anything, because people look at you and go, wow, you're different. What happened? You're glowing. What's going on? And those are the experiences that I think are so important for all humanity, for everybody on this planet, because the times are changing. We need to get back to nature. We need to get back to ourselves, get out of our heads, into our heart, so that we can live an authentic, self-expressed life. And that's different for everybody and what that looks like.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well said.
Yeah, thank you. So we've got a couple of other short video clips. You got something we can roll out here? Which one's this, Michael? We got a clip of the farm. So let's take a look at this one here.
Yeah, so we're actually soil farmers, would be a good way to put that. Perfect. The byproduct of our soil is the quality cannabis. But I'm looking at every input I put into my soil. Is this good for my soil? And I'm looking 10, 15, 20 years down the road, because I'm constantly trying to improve my soil. Mm-hmm. And then I just get a better byproduct, a better crop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really key. Really the focus is the soil life. Mm-hmm. Like, we're really returning back to natural systems. We don't need to walk out into the forest and spread nitrogen.
Yeah.
Because it's all perfectly in balance. Like, nature spent billions of years doing this. And we come along in 50 years and think we're smarter than nature and make some synthetic fertilizers, which do work really well. And I'm not knocking them. I've smoked some great weed that's grown with synthetics. But in my opinion, the future of cannabis production is looking at minimizing resources or input costs, as well as a superior quality product. Mm-hmm. And the way to do that is by mimicking natural systems, taking advantage of the sun. I mean, we compare our lights, the best light's the one that's closest to the sun, when we could just really use the sun. And that's all we're trying to do here, is give it the opportunity to do what it wants and express its genetic potential.
Wow, just incredible, Che. The work you're doing out there, your farm is magic. beautiful. And those guys from Growing Exposed, what a great video. I encourage everybody, if you're on there online, go check it out on YouTube, Growing Exposed, Rosebud Farms. It's incredible. And we got one more, this is again from the same video, but it's just a little shot of the lands and a little bit about the festival, what you can expect when you're there. So if you want to play that, Michael, that would be great.
So this is the Unicorn Cup.
Yeah.
And I think out of all the cannabis cups we've been to, there's quite a few. This is by far the most pristine location ever.
Awesome.
So we're really happy to be here, and thank you so much for the invite. What's the Unicorn Cup all about?
It's about highlighting our community, bringing our cannabis community together, supporting each other, and also economy, trying to keep the economy strong here in the Kootenays. We've seen to lost a lot of the mom and pop operations to big ag and more of a corporate side of things. So we're trying to reduce barriers and bring us together as a whole, help transition people into the legal market where hopefully they'll have an opportunity to continue doing what they love to do. They risk their neck to just grow this plant, and now it's become legal. These people, this community deserves to be part of that. So anything we can do to bring together a support network and help them, help our economy, help our community. The culture, that's another huge part of this. The cannabis culture in this area is so strong, and we hear people talk about Humboldt as another example of that. Let's keep that culture together.
Agreed.
We've gone from the shadows to the spotlights. We've gone from hiding on the mountainsides to the opportunity like this to come together and support each other. That's really the essence of what this is about.
Super. So it's official. We're at the 2021 Unicorn Cup.
Wow, incredible. I'm so looking forward to it. I can't believe we're only like 5 weeks away, five and a half weeks away from the Unicorn Music Festival. It's just going to be awesome. Let's do it. Yeah. Right on. Well, I want to thank you both for taking some time out of your day here on Canada Day. I know it's a holiday for many people, and you're in town from the Kootenays, so thanks for taking the time out of your day to join us. And I look forward to seeing you again. If you have any last words, now's a great time.
It was a pleasure. We really appreciate this opportunity. Beautiful space and studio. I was expecting to be impressed, but not this impressed. really a lot of gratitude for us coming into this space and having this experience and helping share what it is we're about and trying to do. So, respect, appreciation.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mark. And just bringing it back around to the spirit of the cannabis plant and the fact that she is in orchestration of all the things that we're doing and unfolding, and her essence and vibration is, the budding factor in all of the things that become for us. And so bringing it always back to her spirit of the medicine. And how much gratitude I have for that, and for you, and for all the work that you guys are doing as well, and your sharing and your raising of the vibration frequency of the world. So thank you.
Thank you, Krystal. And thank you, Che. So you've been listening to Conscious Living on 100.5 FM CFRO in Vancouver, another Spirit Plant Medicine episode. If you're looking for something to do this summer that's a little bit unique and get out of your normal routines, come and join us up in the Salmo area in the Kootenays for the Unicorn Music Festival and join the Spirit Plant Medicine Community Immersive Camp. We're going to be there. A lot of our people are there in terms of speakers and musicians and community members. So we're really excited to be there and to do something a little different from the Spirit Plant Medicine perspective, where we want to actually really commune and connect with everybody for a few days in nature. So come and join us. You can save with coupon code SPM 2024. We look forward to seeing you then. Until next time, thanks for joining us.
You have been listening to Conscious Living Radio. For free show downloads, additional information about our guests and topics, or details about upcoming programs, check us out at consciouslivingradio.org.
100.5 means non-commercial, listener-powered community radio. 100.5 means music, public affairs.
I have a dream
and arts programming.
I wish I loved the human race. I wish I loved its city face.
You won't find anywhere else on the radio dial. 100.5 is not owned by a huge corporation. We are owned and operated by people like you, by your community. 100.5 CFRO Vancouver Cooperative Radio. Find our complete program schedule at coopradio.org.